Good afternoon. It is a beautiful, sunny, clear day in November 2022. It's pretty wild. So today we are in my 1991 911 Carrera 2 Targa. This is the second to last generation of the air-cooled Porsches, and it's the last generation of the upright headlights. And for me, the upright headlights has a different silhouette than the modern 911s. It's like the quintessential classic look of a Porsche 911. And someone's giving me a thumbs up, which is so nice of them. Anyways, so this car, it's only 250 horsepower, 3.6 liter flat six engine, but I wouldn't sleep on that number. You know, its power to weight ratio, this car isn't super light of the times. It was actually a heavier car of the times, but it was it's like 3,100 pounds, the Targa is, which is the heavier version. And I specifically sought out the Targa. I know a lot of people like the coupes because the coupes are kind of like the most pure, but I wanted a top-down experience in a sports car. But at the same time, the Targa with this removable top, it still maintains the beautiful silhouette of the 911 while allowing me to have this. So it's just perfection for me. And you know, the 911 was introduced in 1965, 66, something like that. And this is obviously towards the latter end of that. So it's gone through so much evolution during that time. There was a time where they thought that convertible cars are going to be illegal. And so Porsche's solution was to create this Targa bar here. And it was basically like, here it's like a convertible, but it's also like a safety bar. And it worked out well. There were some complaints in the earlier Targas that the body was very flexy because it didn't have the coupe roof anymore. But over time, Porsche engineering is second to none. So they did a ton of reinforcements to the car underneath. So this car, you know, for the most part, you're not going to really notice that. It's still tight. Everything about this car is just so tight. Everything just fits where it needs to go. I will say this, Porsche's engineering is great, but ergonomics, not a forte. There's still knobs and switches and the air conditioning system, nothing's labeled. And there'll be like two different switches on each side. You would think they control two different similar things, but they control two totally different things. But there's no label, and you only know once you really find out you've owned this car for a while. I have to admit, I still don't really know how to use the air conditioning system that well. It all works, but I just sort of like leave it once the mechanic touches it and sets it all up, and then I just try to, aside from controlling the airspeed and the temperature, which only comes in Celsius, there's no Fahrenheit, I try not to mess with it. So if it's hot, I need the heater on. If it's cold, I can put the AC on, perfect, but I don't try to adjust the vents or anything like that because, you know, it ends up being too much of a pain in the butt to try to figure out. Okay, so that's sort of it, like in terms of what this car is as it was. So I bought this car with 58,000 miles on it, and it currently has 78,000 miles on it, so I've been driving it. I've had a lot of seat time on a lot of spirited drives, canyon drives, and it's just been phenomenal. I have made a little bit of adjustments to it just to make it exactly how I want it. You know, it's got suspension from the previous owner, the Bilstein suspension that's like set to Euro height. You know, that's great and all. Other things that were really important to me are the sound of the car. When I first got the car, it sounded okay, but Darren Pfister of Pfister Motorsports creates some of the best exhaust systems in the game that are like pretty reasonably priced too. So this has his full system. It has the mufflers, it has the racing cut pipe, which is basically, this car had 2 mufflers, and it deletes one of the mufflers, keeps the primary muffler, which Darren's modified a bit too, and it just sounds so good. Man, we are hitting some lovely traffic. But it sounds phenomenal. And so the sound is there. In terms of this manual shifting experience, it's got the G50 transmission, which is excellent. However, I did want to do a little bit more. I added a short shift kit to it and the goldenrod. So now it's just, it feels very rifle bolts like, just feels good. It's lovely. And then I also switched the shift knob setup too. It's unmarked now, so if you've never driven the car, it can be a little bit confusing. But it has a 917 like Porsche race car wooden shift knob, similar to what they had in the Carrera GT, and it's lovely. It feels so good in the hand. I also switched the steering wheel. So back in the early 90s, they had the introduction of the airbag, and I think it really caught the automotive makers off guard. Because if you look at a lot of the early airbag steering wheels, they just look terrible. I mean, this car steering wheel just kind of looked like a steering wheel with a giant pillow on top. So it was okay, but you know, aesthetically just wasn't what I wanted. So I swapped it out for a Momo Prototipo, kind of your run-of-the-mill vintage racer steering wheel. I've outfitted it with the like vintage leather. I want to say this was actually the Magnus Walker edition with the vintage leather. It's just like, it's not as black as the normal one. It looks like it's a little more weathered, and it honestly just is, because I drive it like this. And then I put a nice little leather embossed Porsche horn button. So it kind of looks OEM plus. So everything that I am touching while I drive and listening to while I drive has just been upgraded to my specs, and I just think it's perfect. Aside from that, the car is black on black, just kind of your classic, beautiful looking spec. The wheels and brakes were looking a little bit tired. Brakes still work amazing. You know, I know a ton of guys who have hot rodded their 911s, but they don't really do much to the brakes because the Porsche brakes are just so good. So the brakes are still the same. But what I did was I refinished the wheels. I had them powder coated into a bronze color, so it's this black over bronze look, which I love. The brakes, they were like peeling old flaky black paint on them from original. So I went ahead and got them refinished in this British Racing green with the gold Porsche lettering. I just think it looks beautiful. It also just works so perfectly with my brand. So, you know, hey, double win. Another thing is, in a lot of these classic cars, which I love, are halogen headlights. Visibility is so bad. When you're at night, if you're driving on a windy road or in a dimly lit neighborhood, you just can't see anything. And so I went ahead and I got the Renline LED headlights installed. What I like about these is that they still have a fluted glass lens on top, so that they have that classic look. Like, you don't see all those LED internals. So functionality-wise, LED brightness, look still looks classic. Doesn't look like too modern, which I think, you know, is something that I'm just not into. I mean, I think it's great that these companies out there are really just resto-modding the 911s like crazy. But you know, I like I try to be as original as possible. And so, power-wise, this is plenty of power. I don't need any more power. I'm not that great of a driver that I need to have a race car that's ridiculously fast. This car will keep up with any modern car any day of the week. I mean, of course, barring if you're driving a brand new supercar or hypercar, yeah, okay, fine. At 0 to 60, I'm not going to be able to beat you. But this thing keeps up in the canyons. It accelerates well on the freeway. It sounds unbelievable. So, yeah, it's hard for me to want to crave more in terms of a powerful experience. I think that's the crazy thing, is that at this point, the way that this car is, as it basically was in 1991, I don't crave a faster car. I think the age of having the fastest car on the road, we've already just, we've gotten there. I mean, the Tesla Plaid is like 1.9 seconds 0 to 60. I don't need that. I just don't need it. I think at this point, I don't care about Nürburgring times or 0 to 60s or quarter miles. I just want something that brings a smile to my face. And this does it in a brisk fashion that and the exhaust too is just, it has it does snap crackle if I want to be spirited about it. Normally you can drive this car and it's pretty tame. Still sounds great, but it's tame. There's no droning or anything like that. So anyways, I'm on my way to Malibu right now for a little meetup, and just not really a better way to do it than to get there in this. Hope you all have a great rest of your day.